Welcome to Royal Daily Report, your ultimate source for the royal stories they don't want you to know. I'm your host, and tonight we're bringing you an investigation that goes deeper than anything you've heard before. This is a story about secrets, hidden pasts, and the truth behind the carefully crafted image. Stay with us for this shocking expose. They say the people who know your past are the ones who can ruin your future. For Meghan Markle, that person is Trevor Engelson, the Hollywood producer she married long before she ever dreamed of Windsor Castle. Their marriage ended, but Trevor didn't just walk away with a broken heart. He walked away with stories of a Meghan few people ever saw. And one of those stories, according to whispers close to Trevor, centers on a single night in 2016. A night in Toronto that could have ended Meghan's royal ambitions before they even began. A night so carefully buried that it left no headlines, no police reports, no trace in public record. Until now, because behind the polished Duchess image lies the woman Trevor once knew. The organizer, the supplier, the one who could keep the party alive long after everyone else had gone home. And this is where our story begins. Toronto, 2016. Meghan Markle was on the brink of becoming a royal fairy tale. Prince Harry had just flown in to see her slipping away from palace eyes for what should have been a private, low-key visit. On the surface, it looked like romance blooming in secret. But according to insiders, what unfolded that night was anything but innocent. Sources claim Meghan wasn't just spending time with Harry. She was allegedly organizing what Toronto's nightlife crowd called a run. In plain terms, it meant arranging more than just a quiet dinner or a glass of wine. It meant indulgence. It meant substances. It meant stepping into a world Harry should have avoided at all costs. And then came the name that shocked everyone who heard it. Princess Eugenie, Harry's own cousin. Her name was allegedly tied into that night's plans. No one knows for sure if she was aware or if she had any part in what was happening, but just the fact her name was mentioned set jaws dropping. Because one wrong step, one headline. And the story wouldn't just have destroyed Harry and Meghan's romance, it could have embarrassed the entire royal family. Whispers say something went sideways that night. A close call, a brush with exposure so risky that if it had leaked, Meghan and Harry's story might have ended before it ever began. But it didn't end, because the story was buried. No police reports, no tabloid scandals, no headlines in the morning papers, just silence. And silence in stories like this speaks louder than noise. Make sure to subscribe to Royal Daily Report right now for more exclusive investigations like this one that exposed the truth. Insiders claimed that strings were pulled fast, hard, and at the highest levels. The palace had too much to lose. Harry's image was already fragile. Meghan was building her profile, and Princess Eugenie's name was too close to the fire. A cover-up was the only option. What could have been a public scandal, flashing lights, mugshots, front-page shame was instead erased overnight. The kind of eraser that doesn't happen by chance. The kind that requires influence, money, and power moving quietly in the background. And at the very center of it all stood Meghan Markle, calm, composed, and as sources say, shockingly skilled at keeping the night alive and keeping it quiet. To understand how Meghan could move so effortlessly through a night like that, you have to understand the world she lived in. Toronto wasn't just where she filmed Suits, it was where she built a second identity hidden from cameras and family back home. That world revolved around Soho House, not the polite clubs of royalty, but the elite playground where the powerful and the privileged came to indulge. Wine glasses and laughter were just the surface. Behind closed doors, insiders say the real menu was much sharper. Cocaine delivered in secrecy, arranged without questions. And Meghan, according to those who partied with her, wasn't a bystander. She was the connector, the one people trusted when the night needed fuel. She didn't just know who wanted what. She knew how to get it, how much, and how to make sure it arrived discreetly. Her value in that circle wasn't beauty or charm, it was access. People remembered her not just as the life of the party, but as the one who made the party possible. A woman who could make others feel untouchable, even when lines were being crossed. And once you understand that, you start to see why whispers about the Toronto incident never truly died. Because this wasn't a random slip. This was a glimpse of the Meghan who lived behind the Instagram quotes and charity speeches. The Meghan Trevor Engelson knew well. Before Toronto, before Harry, there was Trevor Engelson, Meghan's first husband, the Hollywood producer who thought he was marrying a free-spirited actress. Their wedding in Jamaica back in 2011 should have been a light-hearted tropical escape. Instead, it gave the first real glimpse of the Meghan that Trevor would later understand better than anyone else. Guests from that trip still talk about it. Not the vows, not the beach, not the love story. What they remember is Meghan sitting down and rolling over 100 joints for her guests. 100. It wasn't a quick laugh or a quirky bride's joke. It was an operation, an organized effort to make sure the atmosphere was set and everyone at that wedding had what they needed. At the time, people laughed it off. They called it playful, said it showed Meghan was relaxed and fun. But now, seen alongside the Toronto nightlife years, it feels different, less like a funny anecdote and more like a pattern. Meghan wasn't just participating in these moments, she was the one curating them, supplying, directing, shaping the mood of the night. And Trevor, he saw it all. He didn't just marry Meghan, he married into the version of her that knew exactly how to keep a party alive and exactly how to make sure no one forgot it. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and stay connected with Royal Daily. Report for the latest shocking royal revelations. This wasn't an isolated trait. Meghan mastered something that few people can pull off. She lived several lives at once. To her Hollywood friends, she was the hustling actress running from audition to audition talking about global dreams. To her family back home, she was the polished daughter who kept up appearances. To Prince Harry, she was the understanding partner, the confidant who made him feel safe from the palace spotlight. But in Toronto, among the Soho House circle, Meghan was something entirely different. She was loud, confident, and according to sources, unflinching when lines of powder hit the table. She was the one who made everyone feel like the night could stretch on forever, because she held the keys to whatever anyone needed. The brilliance of it all wasn't just in what she did, but how she kept these worlds separate. Meghan could tell just enough of herself to make each group feel like they knew her without ever letting the versions overlap. That wasn't an accident. That was survival, a skill, and it's what made the Toronto night in 2016 so believable. Because Meghan had always been the one who could step into any room and become exactly what the moment demanded. When Meghan met Prince Harry, she didn't need to play the role of innocence. Harry already had a reputation. The Vegas photos, the late nights, the whispers about wild indulgences. He was no stranger to scandal. He didn't need someone to tame him. He needed someone who could keep up, maybe even someone who could lead. And that's exactly what Meghan offered, according to sources close to the circle. She gave Harry something he couldn't find inside palace walls. Freedom. Freedom to indulge without scandal. Freedom to step into the shadows without worrying about who might leak a story. Meghan knew how to make indulgence safe. She knew how to keep the mess hidden. For Harry, who grew up under the constant glare of tabloids and handlers, that kind of bond was intoxicating. Meghan wasn't just his girlfriend. She became the one person who could see his darker side and not flinch. The one person who didn't just accept it, but controlled it, managed it, and made it feel untouchable. This is why their connection felt so sudden, so intense, because beneath the love story was something far more strategic. Meghan offering Harry the one thing he craved most, secrecy. And that made her more than a partner. It made her essential. Every legend leaves traces. And Meghan's traces weren't only in whispered stories. They were written on her face. Old photographs showed softer, rounder features, a nose that mirrored her mother's, wide and familiar. But as Meghan rose higher into the spotlight, her appearance changed. Sharper angles, a narrower bridge, nostrils redrawn. The official explanation was simple. Cosmetic upgrades, Hollywood polish. Nothing unusual for an actress preparing to shine on camera. But sources close to her Toronto years claimed something darker. Too much cocaine, they said, can eat away at cartilage, collapsing the nose from the inside. Surgery stops being a matter of vanity. It becomes survival. According to these whispers, Meghan's procedures weren't tweaks for beauty. They were repairs, cover-ups, a way to erase the evidence of a lifestyle she couldn't afford to have traced back to her. Each new surgery wasn't just a reinvention. It was a burial of the version that came before. And if you line up the photos across the years, you don't just see a woman chasing perfection. You see someone rewriting her face to bury the past. Subscribe to Royal Daily Report now and never miss the truth behind the royal headlines. But Meghan's eraser didn't stop at the mirror. it stretched into her entire life. Sources say throng of friends who once partied with her disappeared from her circle overnight. College friends who had built memories with her, even family ties were cut clean, leaving silence where connections used to be. This wasn't reinvention in the playful sense. This was strategy, a cycle of build, erase, rebuild, erase. Each time she stepped into a new world, she left no bridge for anyone to cross back. By the time the whispers about her past began to surface, Meghan could shrug and say, "That's not me." And in a way, she was right, because that version of Meghan no longer existed. Trevor Engelson saw it firsthand. He had been erased. Not just as an ex-husband, but as a witness to the Meghan who curated atmospheres and supplied nights that others only whispered about. By cutting off the old ties, Meghan ensured no one could stitch the fragments of her past back together. But cracks don't stay hidden forever. Over time, Meghan's carefully curated story began to show seams. In one interview, she insisted she had never Googled Harry before meeting him. Yet, in another, she described his favorite traits with the kind of detail that sounded studied. She claimed she was isolated in the UK, trapped, and cut off. Yet records show she was traveling frequently: Italy, Amsterdam, New York. Then came the mystery around Archie's birth. Meghan refused to release the full certificate, fueling speculation about why the secrecy mattered. Rumors even swirled that her own birth year might not be the one she claimed, a detail so ordinary in Hollywood, but extraordinary in royalty. And even the palace seemed to distance itself from her narrative. At first, Meghan's royal biography painted her as a scholar, a double major at Northwestern, fluent in multiple languages, decorated for humanitarian work. Then, quietly, all of that disappeared. The royal website stripped away the credentials. What was left? One line: Meghan Markle, actress from Suits. For an institution as meticulous as the palace, that wasn't an oversight. It was deliberate, a subtle rewriting of the myth they once helped create. So, who is Meghan Markle really? Is she the Hollywood actress who dreamed of something bigger? The Duchess who walked into Windsor Castle with the world watching? Or is she the strategist described by insiders, the supplier, the eraser, the master of reinvention who built her future one mask at a time? The evidence suggests she was never a woman swept up by fate. She was a woman who played the long game. Someone who knew how to compartmentalize, how to control the narrative, and how to bury inconvenient truths beneath new versions of herself, step by step, nose by nose, circle by circle. And that's why Meghan's story still grips the public. Because for every polished charity speech, there's a whisper of what came before. For every photo in the spotlight, there's a shadow just outside the frame. Trevor Engelson's memory of Meghan rolling 100 joints in Jamaica, the whispers of that Toronto night in 2016, the carefully erased faces from her past, they all point to the same unsettling truth. Meghan Markle built her legend not by chance, but by design. The most haunting part, this expose-zone scratches the surface. The real question isn't what she's already hidden. It's what's still out there, waiting to be uncovered. Because Meghan Markle remains what she has always been, a woman behind a mask, smiling in the spotlight, while the real story lingers unfinished in the shadows. That's all for today's explosive episode of Royal Daily Report. This investigation reveals a side of Meghan Markle that has been hidden for years, protected by silence and strategy. If this story shocked you, make sure you subscribe to Royal Daily Report immediately so you don't miss any of our exclusive royal investigations. Hit that like button, share this video with everyone who needs to know the truth, and leave your thoughts in the comments section below. I'm your host, and this has been Royal Daily Report, bringing you the stories they tried to bury, the truth behind the glamour, and the secrets that change everything. Remember to turn on notifications so you're the first to know when we drop our next shocking expose. Until next time, stay informed and keep questioning the official narrative.